This is Aryan with EDD Academy, and this is the first lecture in the Python for Kids series. We'll be starting off today with the very basics of Python. So just to start, this is the code editor on the left here, and this is the console on the right. Now, what's really nice about the console is that you can type in a single line of Python code, then press enter, and Python will just execute it for you. And one of the most basic things Python can do, just like your average calculator, is just simple arithmetic math. So if I ask Python, what's 2 plus 2, and then press enter, Python will output, in this line it says out, 4. I can also ask Python to do subtraction. So if I ask Python what's 5 minus 3, Python knows that's 2. Also multiplication. So if I ask Python what's 6 times 9, Python knows 54. And division. So 9 divided by 3, well, that's just 3. Now, there's also a fifth operator Python can do for math, and this is called modulo or mod. And what mod does is it divides the two numbers you input, but then it doesn't give you the quotient of the division. Instead, it gives you the remainder. So if I ask Python what's 6 mod 4, Python is going to divide 6 by 4, get 1, and then get 2 as a remainder. So Python will give us back 2. All right, makes sense, right? Now let's move on to our actual code editor here. What we'll be doing is first defining a variable a, and this is going to be equal to the number 3. Now what a is as a variable is it's like a box, and this box has the number 3 in it. I can change this to be 4 or 5 or something else, but for now I'm just going to leave it at 3. And this is really useful because now you can use a as many times as you want in your code in a variety of places. And theoretically you would give it a more meaningful name, like my favorite number or something like that. So I'm going to define this variable a to be 3 here, and then I'll define another variable b to be 4. And now I can ask Python to do anything with these variables, like what's a plus b, and Python will know that that is 7. But if I run this code, Python doesn't know that it actually needs to output this a plus b. So the way that we get Python to print something onto the console is with a print statement. And the way we do this is print a plus b. So now what Python does when it reads this code is, first of all, it knows that you're defining a to be 3, then it knows to define b as 4, and then it prints the number a plus b, or 7, onto the console. So now when we run this code, we should get 7, exactly. Now the other really cool thing you can do with Python is you can define variables using other variables. So if I set c equal to be a plus b, Python will read through my code. It'll see that a is 3 and b is 4, and it'll know that c is a plus b. So now if we ask Python to print out c, it'll know that c is just a plus b, or 7, and it should just print 7 again. All right, so that's pretty cool. Now let's move on to more of a real-world example. So let's say I want to use Python to calculate the number of seconds in a year. Alright, well, I can do this using just normal math, or I can define variables so that if I ever need to change something, it'll make it easier. So let's start off with the number of seconds in a minute, which is 60, the number of minutes in an hour, which is also 60, the number of hours in a day, which is 24, and then the number of days in a year, which is 365. Now, how would I actually... Oh, looks like Python messed up a bit there. Now, how would I actually use these numbers to print out the total number of seconds in a year onto the console? Well, it's pretty simple. I would just multiply all the variables together, because 60 times 60 times 24 times 365 is just the number of seconds in a year. So I would do that by saying print, and then all the variable names multiplied by each other. So seconds times minutes times hours times day. And then if I run this code, Python will then do that math and then print out a very big number, which is the number of seconds in a year. Now let's think about this. As a challenge problem, what if I wanted to do the same thing, but for a leap year? Well, first let's consider what a leap year actually means. It's when there's February 29th, or an extra day in the year. So how could we change our code to factor in an extra day? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We would change the number of days from 365 to 366. Now, just by changing this number, because we labeled all our variables in a very useful way, if we run this code, we see that we get the correct number, which is just a few more seconds to factor in for the extra day. Okay, now that we understand how to use variables for numbers, we can also store letters and other things in variables in what's called a string. So let me just delete all my code here, and I can show you. For example, if I say this variable sentence is going to be equal to the string I am learning Python. What this means is now sentence is this kind of box, because that's what a variable is, with the with the sentence, basically, I am learning Python in it. And the way we define this is we use equals, just like with a number, but now we surround it with either single or double quotes. So if I'd used double quotes here, that also would have been just fine. And now strings are really interesting because you can do things with them, just like numbers. You can print them. So if I say print sentence, Python will know to print that out. And you can also add them. So if I make another variable called sentence2, and I say Python, that sentence is I am having fun. And then I say Python should print sentence1 plus sentence2. Well, Python will do something called a concatenation. And basically what this means is it'll take sentence1 and then it'll just stick sentence2 right next to it and then print out that one really big string together. Oh, it looks like I spelled sentence2 wrong, so I'm going to fix that and then run this code. And what we'll see is that Python first read that sentence is I am learning Python, then that sentence 2 is I am having fun, and the print statement, it just printed out this and then stuck I am having fun next to it. So there's really no space here because Python just knows to squish these two strings together. So the way we can fix that is by adding a space in ourselves. So if I say plus and then put in quotes space and then put another plus sign and then sentence 2, Python will now be able to print out the first sentence, then a space, then the second sentence. So now I'm going to run this, and I get the full thing with a space in between, which is what we wanted. Alright, that's pretty cool. Now let's learn about something called embedding. So embedding is when you actually put in a value into your sentence in a print statement. That might not make sense, so I'll first of all show you an example. So let's say I have a certain number of pineapples, and I'm going to say that my pineapple number, which I'll put in this variable pineapples here, is 6. And then I have my string here, which I'm going to define as I have 6 pineapples. And then I want to print that string. And when I do this, Python will just print the string I have 6 pineapples. Well, if I if I eventually want to change up my code and now I have 7 pineapples, well, I would have to go back and change this up to 7 too. And that's really, that's really not efficient. I only want to have to change my code in one place. So what I can do here is instead say %s, and then say string, %, and then pineapples. And then Python knows to do something really cool here. What it'll do is it'll see that I have my string, I have %s pineapples, and then %, and it'll read then the variable pineapples, which it is 7, and use that to replace the %s. So now if I run this code, Python will embed the number 7 into my original string. So I can change this to whatever, I can change it to a crazy number of pineapples, like 999 pineapples. And Python will know to embed that into this original string here, which is pretty useful. Alright, now what if I want to embed multiple things? So let's say I have %s pineapples, and I decide I also have a certain number of grapes. Let's say I have 30 grapes. Well, I can say I have %s pineapples and %s grapes. And then when it comes to the actual print statement, I would then put this here in parentheses and then add a comma for grapes. And what this does is it tells Python, alright, you're still going to be embedding stuff, but the first thing you'll be embedding is the pineapples variable, and the second one is the grapes variable. So it'll look here, it'll look at the string, it'll see I have %s, then it'll reference the pineapples variable, which is 999, then it'll read the rest of the string and %s grapes, with the second %s being referenced to the grapes variable over here, or 30. So when I run this, it should print out I have 999 pineapples and 30 grapes, which it does, which is perfect.